Well, welcome to Canada, where the government literally tells you to comply with home intruders who are trying to steal you, assault you, and occasionally murder you. Viva Fry, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida rumbler, in my home office with a story that should shock your conscience if you have half a conscience. Canada has been making the rounds in the news these days, and all for the wrong reasons. Yet again, there have been a spate of home intrusions, sexual assaults, and murders that have highlighted the fact that in Canada, you don't have the right to self-defense, and the cops made as much clear in a press conference they gave the other day. But in case you think I'm lying or exaggerating or being hyperbolic, let me highlight 3 cases that have made the headlines in Canada and have brought back to the fore a God-given right to self-defense that Canadians don't seem to have, or at the very least police don't seem to recognize Canadians have. From CBC News, August 19, 2025, man charged after allegedly assaulting home intruder in Lindsay, Ontario, police say. Alleged intruder and homeowner are both facing charges, say Kawartha Lakes police. Now, if you don't know what happened in this case, my goodness, it sent shockwaves through Canada because people were literally in disbelief that the homeowner, the resident, was charged with assault after defending against an armed intruder who broke into his home at 3:20 in the morning armed with a crossbow. The resident homeowner defended himself, beat the intruder so badly that the intruder had to be airlifted to hospital, and the homeowner resident is facing charges of assault against the armed intruder. And the follow-up headline from CBC News from 2 days later, August 21, 2025, CBC News, Ontario man charged after confronting intruder inside home, allegedly used knife, court docs say. So yeah, the resident used a knife to defend himself against an armed home intruder who was armed with a crossbow and himself is facing charges. This understandably caused some outcry in Canadian politics. Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, and the failed prime ministerial candidate Pierre Poilievre had things to say about this. I'll show you those clips right now.
This is where society's gone, folks. They're defending themselves now. If you have a gun and you're a hunter and someone's coming into your house to kill your family, they're gonna defend their family, and they should be exempt. You don't go to root cause. It's not them coming into the house. It's ridiculous. You know something? I have a saying for the folks that are defending their homes. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
My message to the criminal thugs who are invading the homes of Canadians in unprecedented numbers because of Liberal laws is that you should be in serious danger if you go into someone's house illegally and try to harm them. If you don't want to be harmed, then don't invade someone's house and don't threaten their security. The law needs to be very clear that people have the right to defend their homes and their families against lawbreakers.
But in case you thought this was just a horrible one-off accident in Canadian law and politics, you'd be wrong, sir. It's not just a one-off. From September 2nd, 2025, CTV News, Welland, Ontario man charged in alleged home break-in, sex assault of child, police. Now, the details of this story are exponentially more horrific than the headline would let on. This guy named Daniel Senecal broke into his neighbor's house and sexually assaulted a 5-year-old toddler, 3 or 5-year-old toddler. The toddler had to be hospitalized, had to have reconstructive surgery. The man, Daniel Senecal, identifies as she, her on his Facebook page. The man broke in fully clothed and was seen walking out in his underwear. He has been arrested, and I'm still trying to figure out, I've reached out to the Niagara Regional Police to see if this man was actually let out on bail. I'm trying to see if the guy was let out on bail. I believe he might have been let out on bail, if you can believe this. He had actually been arrested for a prior sexual assault and had been released early. A sexual assault on a 12-year-old boy. He broke into his neighbor's house and sexually assaulted a toddler. The man can't go to hell fast enough, but I think the Canadian legal system is probably going to protect this guy with a gag order on this case. And just to complete the unholy trifecta of insanity going on in Canada, there was another recent break-in where the dad of 4 was shot dead in front of his family. From September 3rd, 2025, Global News, Ontario father of 4 had, quote, confronted, end quote, suspects in fatal home invasion, police. When you understand what they're actually doing with that headline, the corporate government-funded media basically saying, yeah, he confronted the home intruders and got shot, as if to blame him. When you hear what the police have to say about how to deal with armed intruders, it will truly blow your mind mind to understand the degree to which the media works hand in hand with the corrupt government. And just to preemptively get ahead of any bad faith fact checkers, I'm not saying that's what happened here in any literal sense. We are just dealing with an ecosystem where the government-funded media works hand in hand to protect the government. But before we get into the insane statements made by the chief of police, the anarcho-tyranny statements to comply with your armed intruders, let me just throw in a fourth example of what happened recently in Canada. September 4, 2025, Yahoo News, woman kidnapped, family member shot during yet another Ontario home invasion. 4 people, 2 of them teenagers, have been charged after a violent home invasion and kidnapping that began as a staged car crash in the GTA on Monday morning. And no, in this context, GTA doesn't stand for Grand Theft Auto, it stands for the Greater Toronto Area. One of the accused is a 16-year-old Caledon boy on a previous release order, while another 21-year-old Shakir Bati from Ajax has already been released on bail. York Regional Police officers were called to a home near McCowan Road and 14th Avenue on reports of multiple men forcing their way inside and informing the occupants that a family member had been kidnapped. Look, I don't even know how to make sense of that description. All that I know is that one of the men had been released on bail, much like the assaulter of the toddler was likely released on bail because it's anarcho-tyranny in Canada. But according to the police, you should just comply with the home invaders. But before I get to my tweet and the video, which will shock you to your core, if I can ask you to subscribe, turn on notifications, share my stuff to help the channel grow. We need to put a big shiny spotlight on the insanity going on in Canada. I'm going to do it as much as I can on Twitter and hope that it reaches people in Canada. But with the censorship in Canada, I'm not sure that Canadians can actually reach certain information outside of Canada. Listen to this video. But first, let me read my tweet introducing said video. Viva Fry at the Viva Fry. You will not believe this. This is York Regional Police Chief Jim McSween literally telling Canadians who are the victims of home intruders to, quote, comply, end quote, with the criminals. To comply with the criminals, end quote, be the best witnesses possible, end quote, for when police arrive. This is beyond parody. This is anarcho-tyranny. At Chief McSween should be fired immediately, and at York Regional Police Department should be absolutely ashamed to call themselves law enforcement. They are criminal enablers. Holy hell, what has Canada become?
Now, before I pass it over to Inspector Fiore and Detective Sergeant Boulay to provide updates on outstanding investigations, let me add this. In the unlikely event that you find yourself the victim of a home invasion, we are urging citizens not to take matters into their own hands. While we don't want homeowners to feel powerless, we urge you to call 911 and do everything you can to keep yourself and loved ones safe until police arrive and be the best witness possible. This could mean locking yourself in a room away from the perpetrators, hiding, fleeing the home, but don't engage unless absolutely necessary. When we have a weekend like we just had, it's easy to understand our community is feeling unsafe. But let me say this once again, this does remain a safe place to live. And our service is doing everything possible to investigate these crimes and to maintain public safety. But as I mentioned, it is a shared responsibility, and we need the commitment of everyone in our community, including the criminal justice system, to ensure our region remains safe and secure. In closing, I'd just like to remind the public that as a police service, our top priority is the safety of all of our communities. And I know that these incidents have had a devastating impact on the families involved and the broader community, but I want to be clear, we are laser focused on solving these crimes and bringing those responsible to justice while keeping everyone safe. Thank you, and I'll now turn it over to Inspector Fiore.
Good morning, Momin Qureshi, 680 News Radio. Chief, I'd like to ask you a question. You just gave some strong advice to people who may be victims of home invasions to not try to, cause any problems, hide, play defense, protect yourself. But over the last couple of weeks, the Premier, has been pretty vocal about having the right to defend yourself, to take action. He even went so far as to say he'd rather be judged by a jury of his 12 peers than carried out by 6 people. I mean, this is contrary to what you're saying. Do you have any concerns about the fact that the Premier is saying you should stand up for yourself and you should defend yourself?
No, I have no concerns. The Premier can make his own statement and his own mind up about that. What I would say is, as a police service, we'll follow the laws as they're written. If the laws change, we'll change with the laws. But as it stands, we know the best defense for most people is to comply. As you've just heard, a number of safety recommendations will allow for those that are victimizing members in the community to leave and not harm anyone. It sometimes can fall on deaf ears when members feel like they have to take matters into their own hands. And the only thing I'd say is, if we are going to rely on our community members to take matters into their own hands to solve this problem, we have all failed our community. So I'll leave political comments to the politicians and let them have those conversations. But for now, the laws are written. We'll follow those laws.
And that is it, a vision into the hellscape that could be America if you follow down the same path as Canada. Disarm all Canadians so that Canadians can't own firearms for their own protection. But criminals, well, they still have the real guns after all. Well, that's going to be here for the rest of the video. They still have the guns, so when they come for your car, just leave the fob at the front door and give them your stuff. Don't get in the way of their criminality and just hope that they don't ask for your body instead of your car. That is the absolute state of Canada, but most importantly, exercise, eat healthy, sunlight, talk to people in real life, and now you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps. Booyah!